Are Olympic skiers natural entrepreneurs? Well, they certainly deal with risk and constantly face make or break decisions, and many of them start businesses even while they're competing. Ted Ligety founded Shred Optics shortly after winning gold at Turin in 2006. The company began making goggles, but has since expanded to helmets, sunglasses, gloves, and outerwear.
Originally, it was just me and a handful of athletes wearing the product, and it's been something I've been really passionate on. And now we have a bunch of snowboarders on the product, some free skiers, even some bikers on it, and then to have some of my closest competitors is really cool.
Steve Nyman chose a different entrepreneurial path, not ski wear, but software. We'll let him explain FantasySkiRacer.com.
In 2010, myself and Nolan Casper, we came up with this fantasy ski racing game. Everything's moved to the phone now, and so we got a donor to help fund an app. You basically pick the top 10 on the World Cup at each race, and we have an algorithm that scores how accurate you are, and then you get to see where you're ranked in the whole world, so it's pretty fun.
Bodie Miller's illustrious career took a frightening turn at the recent World Championships with a serious injury in the Super G. But before the competition, Bodie shared details of a business project that he's preparing to pursue with the same passion he's always brought to racing.
I'm working with a company called the Grilled Cheese Truck Company, and it was a really interesting and sort of serendipitous relationship. It kind of sprung out of nowhere. This Grilled Cheese Truck Company, our first 100 franchises go to vets, to military vets, and for me, I've always kind of been a game changer kind of attitude, even though sometimes I don't get to change the game, sometimes I just flail around. But in this case, we want to set an example for businesses where it's a true win-win.
At 19 years of age, with the gold medal already in hand, Mikaela Shiffrin has a sturdy platform for developing her brand and securing her financial future. But plenty of athletes have mismanaged their assets and failed to capitalize on their talents. Good advice can lead to prosperity. Bad advice can lead to disaster. We asked Mikaela Shiffrin who she goes to for business advice.
Honestly, my parents are probably the first people that I take advice from. My dad loves reading all about the financial world and everything that goes into that. And Warren Buffett is one of his biggest idols. And we just recently actually watched the movie Too Big to Fail. I think my mom and I had to watch it like 3 separate times, and then again with my dad so he could explain what was going on. But after watching, it was probably the most educational movie I've ever watched, and just to see how much of our society relies on money, honestly, and then realizing how much of my life relies on money, and you don't want to admit it, but it's true. My parents wanted me to take a personal finance course, and especially this summer in New Zealand, I was reading my book, and I was freaking out because it was like 300 pages of if you don't start saving when you're 2 years old, then you're never going to be able to retire this day and age. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm already 19, and what am I going to do? I'm never going to retire. And like skiing is, it's if you're doing well, it's actually pretty good pay, but when you don't do well, it's not a set pay kind of thing. I don't have a set payroll, and I'm not working 9 to 5, and I just started freaking out and talking to my teammates and my coaches. I'm like, what am I going to do? And my parents, and they're like, it's okay, calm down. Being a 19-year-old girl who loves to buy shoes, I would tend to just, here, let's buy these shoes, those are cute too, or whatever it is. And between my dad and my mom and the personal finance course, I've been much more aware of actually what I'm spending and if it's really worth it. In a way, it's pretty cool, even though it's technically my job. I love getting dressed up. I like doing my hair. I like learning about doing my makeup and trying different styles. And I also like, talking to people, doing these interviews, because with this day and age, all of the social media, it's become much more of a, everybody's on their phone kind of environment. And the fact that I get to do face-to-face interviews almost every day, I think I'm improving my social technique, just being able to talk to people. And articulate. It's important to be able to speak to someone face to face and look them in the eyes, and that's become so much more uncomfortable lately with all of the technology that's going around. So I do find myself really lucky to be in this position where I'm actually between sponsor obligations and skiing and managing my own life and having all the support that I have. I'm able to work on my life skills, just general life skills on a day-to-day basis, and it's hopefully going to help me at some point in the future.
Well, it sounds like Michaela's doing pretty well in her life skills department, and she's taken her financial textbook on the road to international trips. Is that normal for a gold medal athlete?
Oh no, it's definitely not normal, but it might be now.
Yeah.
But you have to remember one thing about Michaela. She's young, she's still young, and when she started on the team, she was finishing high school. So she's been studying on the road, and that has worked for her. So when she graduated from high school, she and her mom learned German on the road for a year, and now she's moved it over into finance. I'm happy to see that she's there because it's a big part of her future.
And it does sound like Michaela Schifrin has a lot of good advisors herself, but is kind of the definitive, as we said, mentor for this entire world. What kind of advice would you give her and young athletes that want to follow in her footsteps as well?
One of the things that I think is most important, and probably the most important thing when you're working on a business relationship in conjunction with an athletic career, is creating and perpetuating relationships, not doing deals. And that's one thing I've told her, to make sure that you like the people you're working with and that they like you, and that that's a good connection and that you can perpetuate that relationship for a long time. And then she won't have to have so many different sponsors over the course of her career. She can have a couple of good ones, have a strong relationship with them, and it can carry her for the duration.
Peekaboo Street, it's been absolutely awesome and incredible to have you on set and on Beyond the Medals. Please come back anytime.
I will. Thank you.
Up next, we'll meet a man who's making it his business to bring the Olympic Games to his hometown. John Fish leads the Boston 2024 organizing committee, and he'll take us inside the bid process when Beyond the Medals returns.